So it's been a week. Actually, it's been 8 days because today is Monday. My first stage on my next batch of rocks finished yesterday, but I spent all day yesterday rearranging my office so that I would have room to actually work up there and setting up my new turntable and all that good stuff, which is nothing to do with this. But by the time my thing shut off last night, I had no energy left to come down here and do a video and look at my rocks. So it had to wait until now. So let's take a look at the rocks and see how they did after 7 days.
Well, right off the bat, I can see that my water is very brown as opposed to being gray. So I guess there was a lot of dirt on those rocks. Also, this is the most full batch that I've ever run. I've usually only done maybe 2/3 full. And this was definitely very full. So let's see what they look like when I dump them out. Again, strainer, bowl, not going down the sink. As the rocks all stick in the bucket and don't come out. Hey, all my grit is still in the bottom. That's weird. Makes me wonder if they all just got jammed up in there and didn't actually tumble. All right, well, let's take a look. So I have a feeling that most of the brown in there is coming off of this rock. Don't ask me why or how, but I guess maybe just some of the strata and the layers that were on it broke down with the grit and came off? Question mark? I don't know. This one also has a lot of brown on it, but yeah, I don't know. The other ones seem okay. The red ones and the pink ones. This one looks like raw meat. It's like a steak. They don't look too bad. That one's also really weird looking. Sorry, I'm looking at the rocks with my eyes instead of the camera. I pretty much did all red stuff and then just a couple other random things this time. God, those look cool. And for some reason, I think, I'd have to go back and check my video. I think that this piece had some other bits on it that might have come off. Yeah, I don't know. I almost want to say that I think it needs more time in the first grit. Because, I don't remember how smooth they're supposed to get. There's nothing too sharp, I don't guess, except for that one. And maybe this one. But I don't know if they're supposed to get way smoother. Or if maybe I should just put these big lumpy ones in there and let those run a little bit longer in that grit. I don't know. Oh, I can feel. Yeah. I think maybe I'm going to let some of these run a little bit longer. Some of them are okay. But I think some of them I'm going to give maybe another day. And we'll see.
Okay, so just to finish up, I took a look at those rocks, as you can see. Most of them are not rounded off yet. They're still kind of sharp. And I have a feeling that maybe I put too much in there and it wasn't moving around very much, especially since when I looked in the container, the whole bottom of it was all of the grit, just sitting there. It was not mixed in with the water at all. So I have a feeling that at some point it just kind of, unless it's settled from sitting down here for a day, which now that I think about it is also a possibility, because I'm used to opening it up right when I shut it off instead of it sitting for 24 hours. So that makes sense. But they still weren't round enough for my liking. So I took out these two because they were already round to begin with, and that gives it a little more space to move around in there. I put the water back in that I took out of it, which I probably could have put fresh water in it, but there was so much grit left in the water that I didn't want to put in fresh water and fresh grit, and I didn't want to waste it, so I put it back in. And I've set it back, you can hear it, I've set it to run for 3 more days at speed number 3 again, which is what I did these on. Hopefully now it'll have a little more space in there to tumble and smooth those out a little bit more, because most of those red raw meat looking rocks were not very smooth. They could use a little more. So we'll see. So I'll let you know in a couple days.
It is Wednesday, my dudes, and I'm impatient, so I'm going to pull these rocks out and check on them and see how they look. Well, the water's still brown, but, I mean, it was brown when I put it in there. But at least now you can see the grit, unlike before when it was settled. So let's see if they look a little better this time, after another 2 days. Man, there's still a lot of grit down there in the bottom. I don't know, y'all. Maybe I need to put fresh water in there. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I put too much grit. All right, let's see how they look. I don't know. I mean, I think they look all right. They look smooth. They seem a little smoother than they were 2 days ago. I might just move on to grit 2 and we'll see what happens. Man, I wish I had any clue what I was doing. Okay, so here's what we have at the end of 8 or 9. Honestly, I can't keep track. It's either been 8 or 9 days of grit number 1. I honestly think that my water was still so brown because of this big chungus here. I think it's all of whatever that is coming off the back of it, possibly. So that might be what was causing the water to be brown, not sure. Or maybe also stuff coming off of this one. God, these red ones all just look like raw meat. But there's not really anything I can do about that, because that stuff just needed to come off, I guess. So, don't know what to tell you. But the other ones all look pretty good. I mean, they're smooth. There's no sharp edges. They're, not, round, obviously, but they're not sharp. It's all rounded off, smooth. So, or as smooth as it's going to get anyway. So I guess we're on to the next grit. So I'm going to go ahead and run these. I might run them at speed number 2 instead of number 3 and let them go for 9 days, 10 days. I don't know. I'm really just guessing at this point. I have no idea. And then I still have my 2 rocks over here that I pulled out of grit 1 to make room. So, yep, we'll start up grit 2 and see what happens. Upon further consideration, I think I'm going to take out, not you, this one. Because it's taking up so much room in there, I don't think the other stuff has room to move around very well. I do still want to continue to tumble it, but it might just have to go by itself, or maybe with only just a couple other small rocks instead of this whole batch. Because I think it's taken up too much room in the cylinder and impeding my tumbling. So, executive decision. This one's coming out and staying until a later date. And then that way I can put these other ones back in for grit number 2 and still have room for things to move around.